It was 2:13 p.m. when I heard my wife laugh from the basement. That might not sound like much, but I work from home, and she was supposed to be at her dentist appointment. I remember the exact time because I was in the middle of a video call with a client, and her laugh cut straight through the floorboards, sharp and familiar. A laugh I hadn't heard in weeks. Not around me, anyway. I muted my mic, sat still. She didn't know I was upstairs. My meeting had been moved last minute, and I never told her. I even parked down the street earlier that morning because the neighbors were having their driveway redone. None of that was planned. None of that was supposed to happen. But it did, and that's the only reason I heard the joke. I crept down the hallway, careful not to make a sound. The basement door was cracked just an inch, and beyond it, I could hear her voice echoing against the concrete walls of the laundry room. She was on speakerphone with someone. A man. They were joking, teasing each other. And then she said it. I swear, if my husband ever finds out, I'll just say it was a joke. He's too soft to do anything anyway. The man chuckled. You're evil. No, she giggled. I'm strategic. He thinks I'm folding laundry right now. Meanwhile, I'm folding you into my schedule. They both laughed, and something inside me cracked. Not snapped. Cracked, like a windshield hit by a stone, spreading slowly outward until the whole thing gives way. I didn't go down. I didn't scream. I didn't slam the door open. I just stood there, heart pounding in my throat, wondering how long it had been going on. She'd always told me I was too sensitive, that I read into things, that I made drama out of nothing. And God help me, I believed her. Every single time. Until that moment. I went back to my office, sat through the rest of the meeting like nothing happened, even smiled at the end. Then I opened my old laptop, the one she didn't know I still had, and started digging. Emails, passwords, photo backups, cloud syncs. She must have forgotten her phone was once connected to that machine. Or maybe she thought I'd wiped it. Either way, what I found, it wasn't just betrayal. It was strategy, just like she said. She'd planned every detail. Her work schedule, my meetings, her girl nights, her dentist appointments, her gym visits. Every lie was layered over another, like she enjoyed the thrill of hiding in plain sight. And that joke? That one joke. It was the thread that unraveled everything. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't even move from my office chair. While she snored softly in our bedroom upstairs, peaceful, like nothing had happened, I sat in the dark with the blue glow of my old laptop lighting up a decade of lies I'd never noticed. It turns out, syncing your phone to a cloud years ago and forgetting to disconnect it is the kind of mistake only careless people make. And she'd gotten careless. First, it was the photos. They weren't scandalous, not at first. Just little things. A picture of a wine glass across from another, in a restaurant I'd never been to. A mirror selfie where she wore that green silk top she told me she returned. A hotel lobby I didn't recognize, time-stamped 2 weeks after she claimed to be visiting her sister. That one hit me the hardest, because I remember that week. I remember her crying on the phone when she said her sister was going through something and didn't want company. And I remember believing her like an idiot. Then I found the Notes app. Dozens of entries. Some were shopping lists. Some were calendar reminders. But tucked between those were what looked like scripts. Written lines. Phrases like, if he asks, say it was for Shelby's birthday. Don't forget, Jason equals Monday gym excuse. Say it was an old pic. Smile when you say it. It was like watching her rehearse the role of loyal wife. And I was just her gullible audience. But what crushed me most wasn't the cheating. I mean, of course it hurt, but it wasn't even the worst part. No, what shattered me was realizing how much thought she'd put into covering it all. She wasn't sloppy. She was smart. Methodical. She knew what she was doing. And that meant every time she called me paranoid, every time she rolled her eyes and made me feel stupid for asking questions, it wasn't annoyance. It was strategy. She was neutralizing me. I kept scrolling through backups I didn't even remember setting up. Then I found the voice memos. She recorded him. Not on purpose. Just accidentally. She must have hit record instead of a timer one night. The file was only 5 minutes long. But it was enough. His voice was calm. Familiar. Too familiar. Ben. Ben from her work. The one I shook hands with at the Christmas party. The one who gave me grilling tips while she poured wine and looked at him like he'd invented oxygen. The one she said was like a brother. His voice on that recording wasn't brotherly. It was smug. He doesn't suspect anything? No, she said. He's too busy trying to be perfect all the time. It's actually kind of sad. Guess we'll keep giving him reasons to try harder. They both laughed. I stared at the wall for an hour after hearing that. Not crying. Just stuck. You ever feel so betrayed you go numb? Like your body can't figure out how to respond? That was me. By morning, I knew I couldn't confront her. Not yet. I wanted her to dig deeper. To feel safe. To get comfortable. Because if she thought I was still the fool in the dark, maybe, just maybe, I could finally get the whole truth. And I was done living without it. I acted normal the next day. Forced smiles, casual questions, light touches in the hallway like nothing had changed. I even made her coffee the way she liked it. Almond milk, half a packet of stevia, no foam. She sipped it and kissed me on the cheek like I was the luckiest man alive. Meanwhile, I couldn't stop hearing her voice saying, "He's too busy trying to be perfect. It's actually kind of sad." Those words dug into me like splinters under skin, and I couldn't pull them out. That morning, I called in sick. Told my boss I had food poisoning. I had no intention of working. I needed time. I needed space. I needed to become someone else, someone quiet, observant, not the clingy, soft husband she thought she could keep lying to. I wasn't going to confront her with rage. I was going to make her walk herself into the trap. I installed a keylogger on her laptop. Not the work one, but the personal one she used for online shopping, Netflix, Instagram. She was careless with passwords and lazy with logins. Within hours, I was getting screenshots sent to my email of everything she typed. By noon, I knew the names of 2 more guys she was chatting with. By 2 p.m., I knew one of them wasn't even from work. He was someone she met at her friend's wedding 6 months ago in Colorado. She told me the trip was boring. Turns out it was a little too exciting. But then something new happened. Something I hadn't expected. At exactly 5:46 p.m., I saw her type, "He's been acting a little strange lately. I think he suspects something." That message hit me harder than I thought it would. It meant she was already starting to doubt me. I couldn't afford to be sloppy, not even once. So, that night, I staged a small breakdown. I sat on the edge of the bed after dinner and stared at the floor until she noticed. "What's wrong?" she asked, sounding annoyed more than concerned. "I don't know," I said, voice cracking on purpose. "I just feel like we're drifting. Like I'm not enough for you anymore." She didn't hug me. She didn't even move closer. She just let out a tired sigh and said, "You always get like this when you're stressed. It's in your head." I nodded. Let her believe she still had control. But I watched her body language, her impatience, her subtle way of looking at her phone like she was waiting for someone else to text her. Not me. Never me. The next day, I went further. I signed up for a background check service using the usernames I found in her messages. And I hit a nerve I didn't expect. One of the guys, Caleb W., wasn't just some random fling. He had a criminal record. Not huge, but shady enough. Fraud. Identity theft. Some sealed juvenile stuff. The guy wasn't just a mistake. He was dangerous. And she'd been texting him things like, "We just need the timing to be right. And he'll never see it coming if we keep playing our roles." That stopped me cold. What timing? What roles? Was this more than cheating? I scrolled through every word, every emoji, every deleted message I could recover. Patterns started forming. Mentions of bank accounts. Talk of passwords. My name. My schedule. My habits. That's when the fear set in. This wasn't about lust anymore. It was a plan. And I was in the middle of it without even knowing what the end looked like. The worst part about pretending everything is fine is how easy it is to get good at it. I woke up next to her the morning after discovering her messages about roles and timing, and she was humming to herself in the shower like nothing was wrong. Meanwhile, I was lying there thinking about how many nights I had spent curled next to a woman who might have been setting me up for something more than just a broken heart. I couldn't even let myself panic. Panic would get me sloppy. I needed to move slowly, methodically, like her. I spent the next day quietly locking things down. Changed all my banking passwords. Set up multi-factor authentication. Removed myself from any joint accounts I could without raising suspicion. I even backed up all the security footage from our doorbell cam and uploaded it to an external drive she didn't know existed. If she was planning something, anything, I wasn't going to make it easy. And God help me, I wasn't going to be caught asleep. That night, while she was texting in bed next to me, I fake dozed off and watched her reflection in the dark TV screen. She was smiling while she typed. Then she deleted the message and retyped it, making it sound more innocent, like she was editing the lie in real time. Eventually, she locked her phone, slid closer, and whispered, "You've been sweet lately. I missed this version of you." I nearly vomited right there. Instead, I muttered, "Yeah, just trying to be better." She kissed my shoulder. I flinched. I don't think she noticed. The next day, I drove to my brother Curtis' house 2 hours away under the excuse of a last-minute work errand. I told her I'd be back late. I told Curtis everything. He's the only one who's never judged me for being a little over-emotional. I'm the soft brother, the emotional one. Growing up, everyone joked I was the heart, and he was the backbone. That day, I needed both. He didn't say much while I explained. He just sat there, silent, listening. Then he leaned forward, looked me dead in the eye, and said, "You need to stop treating this like a betrayal. This is a setup." That word, setup, it stayed with me the whole drive back. When I got home, she was already in bed. I kissed her forehead and said nothing. I barely slept. The next morning, everything changed. I opened her laptop, not to spy, but because I needed to transfer some photos I had stored on our shared drive. She had left her Gmail logged in, and sitting right there in her inbox, with no password required, was an email thread between her and a law firm. Not a divorce lawyer. No, this was darker. The subject line read, "Transfer strategy, prepared documents." The attachments were PDFs, power of attorney, account statements. A document titled Separation of Assets, suggested division. What stunned me most was that it was already signed. Digitally. Not by her, by me. She had forged my signature. Every nerve in my body lit up. This wasn't just betrayal. This wasn't cheating. This wasn't even theft. This was premeditated erasure. She was planning to gut me financially and vanish with the help of someone she clearly trusted, a man she was texting in secret, whose record included fraud. And I was just the passive, clueless husband people would assume had driven her away. The soft guy, the one who must have done something wrong. And still, I didn't confront her. Because now I needed to know just how far she was willing to go. So I started writing my own script. By the end of that week, I knew I was sitting on a ticking bomb, and the person who lit the fuse was sleeping 3 feet away from me every night. She still acted normal, laughing, touching my arm during dinner, asking about my day like she hadn't digitally signed my name on financial documents I'd never seen. I couldn't fake sleep anymore. I couldn't fake anything. So I stopped pretending, but I didn't explode. I went silent, quiet, calculated. Like her, I started by booking an appointment with a lawyer. Not the kind she expected. This one was a forensic specialist in digital fraud and identity theft. He listened without blinking. When I showed him the fake signature, he told me one thing that stuck in my head more than anything else that day. If she's already moved your name onto paperwork without consent, she's probably already moved your money, too. That scared me more than I let show. Sure enough, when I checked the investment account I barely looked at, my grandfather's life savings rolled into a long-term fund under my name. I found a recent withdrawal request. The paperwork had my forged signature again. The email listed wasn't mine. It was hers, using a variant of my name at a throwaway domain. She wasn't planning to leave. She was planning to replace me. But here's where it gets weird. That same day, she left her phone on the kitchen counter while she was upstairs on a call. It buzzed once. Then again. I looked. Same number. No name. The preview of the message chilled me. "We need to pause everything. Something's wrong. I think he knows." Seconds later, the message deleted itself. I wasn't fast enough to screenshot it, but the damage was done. She was unraveling. Cracks were forming in her script. That night, I gave her the performance of my life. I cooked dinner. I opened wine. I sat across from her and told her I'd been thinking about renewing our vows. She blinked like I'd slapped her. "You want to what?" she asked, stunned. "I feel like I haven't appreciated you enough," I said, watching her eyes. "We've both been busy. We drifted. I want to come back to you. Start over. Clean slate." I could see her panic, but she forced a smile. Told me that was sweet. She didn't even touch her wine. The next morning, she asked me casually what my schedule looked like that week. I lied, of course. Told her I had an all-day strategy meeting on Friday and a 2-day conference the weekend after. She smiled a little too easily and said, "Perfect. I might go visit my sister again while you're busy." Perfect. I didn't say anything. I just nodded. But while she thought I'd be gone Friday, I was across the street in Curtis's car with binoculars and a borrowed telephoto lens. My brother's idea. If she's trying to disappear you on paper, he said. You better make sure she doesn't try anything worse. At 1:06 p.m., a black car pulled into our driveway. She walked out wearing the same green coat she wore the day she said she was grocery shopping for meal prep. She wasn't carrying groceries this time. The driver got out. He wasn't Ben. It was someone older, mid-40s, sunglasses, long coat. She kissed him. It lasted longer than it should have. They walked inside together. Curtis said nothing, just handed me the camera. I started taking pictures. Every step of her lie, every piece of her destruction. But the real twist didn't come until they came out 2 hours later. He was holding a manila envelope. She was crying. Not softly, frantically. She grabbed his arm. He pulled away. Whatever this was, it wasn't love. And it wasn't just cheating. This was a business deal. One that just went very, very wrong. I don't know what I expected when I saw her crying in that man's arms. But I'll tell you what I didn't expect. Relief. I thought I'd feel rage, betrayal, maybe even some twisted kind of heartbreak. But I just felt done. There's something freeing about watching a lie collapse under its own weight. You stop needing to ask why. You start focusing on how to finish the story without letting it destroy you. After the mystery man drove off with that envelope, she stood on the porch for a long time. I could tell she didn't want to come back inside. Her hands were shaking. She kept checking her phone. Eventually, she did something I'll never forget. She sat down on the porch step and just stared at nothing. For 15 full minutes. And in that moment, I realized something that shifted everything in my head. She wasn't in control anymore. That night, I said nothing. Let her tell me some rushed lie about her sister canceling last minute and being too tired to drive up anyway. I just nodded and said I was glad she stayed home. She looked at me like she was trying to read a language she no longer understood. Her walls were up, but they were cracking. By Monday morning, the keyloggers started picking up something new: searches. Desperate ones. Things like penalty for forging signature on legal docs. Can deleted emails be recovered? Signs your husband is hiding something. She was spiraling. She had no idea I was already miles ahead. But then came the message that made my blood turn to ice. It wasn't from Ben, or the man in the car. It was from someone new. A burner address. One line, no punctuation. You weren't supposed to keep copies. That's when I knew this wasn't just her mess anymore. She was involved with people who expected silence, compliance, maybe even vanishing acts. The kind that happened quietly, without fuss, and leave nothing behind but confused neighbors and an empty mailbox. I copied every file, every photo, every message, stored them on cloud servers, external drives, printed backups in sealed envelopes. One to my lawyer, one to Curtis, one hidden in my office under a false panel in the wall. Paranoia became protocol. 2 days later, I pretended to go to work early. Instead, I stayed in town, tracking her movements from my car. At exactly 10:12 a.m., she drove to a rundown strip mall on the edge of town and met someone near the old laundromat. Not the man from before. This time it was a woman. Short, blonde, nervous. They sat in her car for 20 minutes. When Carla got out, she was pale, shaking again. I had to know what was said. So I did something I'm not proud of. I broke into her car that night while she was in the shower. Not to steal, just to check. In the glove box was a folded piece of paper. Handwritten. Sloppy. It looked like a rushed draft of something. But one line stood out immediately. If he talks, we both go down. The documents were never supposed to resurface. So it was true. There was more than just infidelity. There was fraud. Maybe worse. She'd gotten in deep, and now she was dragging me along as her insurance policy. That's when I made the final decision. I wasn't going to confront her. I wasn't going to scream, accuse, demand answers. No, I was going to leave her with something she couldn't erase, couldn't control, and couldn't spin into a harmless joke. Because she wanted me erased quietly. So I decided to disappear loudly. The plan was never to vanish forever. It was to make her think I had. Make her feel the weight of what she'd built. Every forged paper, every lie, every smug laugh behind my back, while suddenly having no control over the outcome. Because that's what she feared most, losing control of the story. The morning I left, I didn't pack bags. I didn't make a scene. I didn't write some dramatic letter. I just turned off location tracking on my phone, left my wallet in the drawer, and walked out with nothing but a prepaid debit card, a go bag I'd built over the past 2 weeks, and the flash drive Curtis had helped me compile with every piece of evidence, labeled and time-stamped, stored in triplicate. One copy already in my lawyer's hands. Another scheduled to send to her employer if anything happened to me. The third, that one was with me. I didn't check into a hotel. That would be too easy to trace. Instead, I stayed at a short-term sublet under Curtis's name. Small, anonymous, cash paid. No cameras. No questions. That first night was the first time I'd slept more than 2 hours in over a month. I turned off my phone. Within 12 hours, she lost her mind. Curtis forwarded the first wave of messages she sent him. Where is he? His car is gone, but nothing else. Have you talked to him? Please, this isn't funny. I need to talk to him right now. It's important. Then came the calls. Not just to him. She called my mom, my boss, my friends, even the landlord. She started crafting a story. Said I was having a mental breakdown. Said I'd been acting weird. Said I might have done something reckless. It was her classic move. Control the narrative first, drown out the truth with sympathy. But then, the real panic started. Because that night, I sent her an email. No subject line, no message body, just an attachment titled, "Joke's Over." Inside, a PDF with side-by-side comparisons of her forged signature next to my legal one, voice memo transcripts, screenshots of her burner email account, and at the bottom, one sentence in bold. You have 72 hours to come clean before I make this public. No threats, no theatrics, just truth. Her response came exactly 9 minutes later. A single line. Where are you? Please don't do this. I didn't reply. Within hours, she started spiraling in ways I didn't anticipate. Curtis caught wind that she showed up at my workplace crying. Told them I was in danger. Cops were called, wellness check requested. I had to call my lawyer to make sure they knew this wasn't a missing person situation. This was a cleanup act by someone watching her whole empire collapse. The third day, I checked the account where she'd tried to funnel my investments. It was frozen. Her forged power of attorney was flagged. Legal action was pending. She must have gotten the notice around the same time, because I received another message from her burner account, this time much colder. You think you've won, but you've only made things worse. For both of us. That confirmed what I'd suspected all along. This wasn't just about me. There were others involved. People above her. Or beside her. Whoever that man was with the envelope, whatever was in it, it wasn't over. But here's what she didn't know. I had one final piece left. One domino she didn't even realize she'd knocked over yet. Because that harmless joke she made, the one where she laughed and said I'd never do anything, that I was too soft, was recorded. Not by me. By the company hosting the retreat. They'd filmed the whole talent night for an internal team highlight reel. And I'd gotten my hands on a copy through a contact in their media department. Her mic? Still hot when she whispered to someone behind the curtain. If he finds out, I'll just cry and say it was all a joke. Works every time. It wasn't a joke anymore. It was leverage. I didn't destroy her. I could have every file I had, every recording, every forged signature, every name she tried to bury. They were all sitting in a neat little archive, ready to be sent with one click. But I didn't want to become a monster just because I was treated like one. I just wanted freedom. Truth. A future that didn't revolve around fear or pretending to be someone softer, dumber, quieter than I really was. 3 days after the deadline, my lawyer received a formal confession from her legal representative. She'd admitted to certain misjudgments in trust, consent, and asset management. It was vague, legally padded, but enough for the banks to unfreeze my name and return control of everything she'd tried to reroute. The forged documents were declared invalid. Her lawyer, probably realizing who she was really dealing with, negotiated a quiet separation. She got nothing but her car, her clothes, and whatever dignity she could still pretend to have. She never fought it, never pushed back. I think she realized the moment I went silent, she had already lost. A month later, I moved out of state. Somewhere small, warm, where people still wave to you on the sidewalk. I started working for a local nonprofit, quiet hours, real people, nothing fake. I rented a little cottage near a lake and started over. No noise, no masks, just peace. Curtis visited me last weekend. We grilled, laughed, talked about everything and nothing. At one point, he asked me if I'd heard from her since the settlement was finalized. I hadn't, but I'd seen her name pop up online. One of those vague, tearful apology posts people write when they need sympathy, but not accountability. It had 1,000 likes and comments. Not one mention of my name. Just how life had fallen apart suddenly. That's fine. Let her have the story she needs. I'm living mine now. Last week, I met someone, unexpected, unplanned. She dropped her groceries in the parking lot outside the market, and I helped pick them up. Simple. No games. We talked about peaches and rain and laughed about nothing. It wasn't love at first sight. It was something better. It was real. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like the punchline in someone else's joke.